You're listening to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast, where we aim to simplify online business so you can make more money. Now, here's your host, Gehl.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast. This is your host, Gehl, and today I'm really excited about today's guest because we're diving into a topic that's really near and dear to my heart, but it's definitely a little bit out of the vein of the normal sort of internet marketing, business building stuff that we're talking about. And so we're taking a bit of a shift here, and we're going to focus today and with today's guest on how to transform our bodies and our brains to get more done as an entrepreneur, while at the same time not sacrificing our health. Now, our guest today is known as the Doctor of the Future. He's a very successful entrepreneur and owner of 3 different companies, including the Designer Health Centers, which have received certification from the United Nations for excellence in healthcare, and for the work that they actually did for the royal family in Saudi Arabia. He's also the founder of a very, very cool website that I'd recommend you check out called superhumanentrepreneur.com, where he specializes in helping entrepreneurs become superhuman and increase our productivity and our energy without sacrificing our health. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome today's guest, Dr. Issac Jones, to the show. Isaac, thanks for being here today.
Hey, thank you so much, Derek. I really look forward to adding as much value today as I can.
Awesome. I've been looking forward to this. And now, before we jump into my long list of questions that I have for you today, just take a minute and share your story. How did you get to where you are today, and specifically focusing on entrepreneurs and their performance?
Well, when I was growing up, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be, a leader of a company. I saw myself kind of at the top of a skyscraper, with a team underneath me. So I always had this kind of leadership mentality. And I was kind of sideswiped in a way when I was in high school, actually, when my brain just started to, take a nosedive. I was not focusing as well as I should have been able to focus. I wasn't able to be as productive as I used to be. I didn't really know exactly what it was. I'd had some challenges with some sicknesses the year before that, and I'd been in and out of the hospital getting antibiotics and so on and so forth. And if anybody's been studying the human microbiome, which I'm sure a lot of internet marketers aren't reading books like The Brain Maker and all these other really cool books that are out there, the gut impacts the brain quite dramatically. So I wiped out all my healthy gut flora. My brain was definitely affected in different ways, and that was most likely compounded with my conventional diet of Oreos and Skittles, probably at the time. My mom, obviously did her best, but I still was eating a very conventional diet and living a very conventional lifestyle. And I ended up having a teacher come up to me after a test, the second test that I couldn't finish in the allotted time that I was supposed to be able to finish the test. I was always the last kid done these tests in these classes in high school after this happened. And I just didn't feel like my brain was just functioning at optimal levels. So they ended up recommending that I go into a psychiatrist, psychologist, and get some tests done. And I ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, which is great if you're an entrepreneur, because almost every entrepreneur has been diagnosed with ADHD. But, that's something that, I carried around with me. And I was like, well, it's just because of this problem that I have. And my mom, she did everything in her power to find a doctor to help me transform my health. And she stumbled upon this one doctor, as a functional health doctor. I worked with a functional medical doctor and a chiropractor and a naturopath. And between working with these different doctors, my health completely transformed. I went from being in special needs, because after I got that label, I was able to take tests in special needs. I went from being in special needs to getting straight A's. And effortlessly getting through the work that I needed to get done. And it impacted me so much so that I was like, I want to help other people the way that I was helped. I want to help really transform people's lives. And so I moved away from being that kind of quote unquote entrepreneur, and, business owner to let's become a doctor. And I get the best of both worlds that way. So I grew up in Canada. I ended up getting an international scholarship to study at the most prestigious health and wellness university in America. And I went through the doctorate program with flying colors. I learned above and beyond what a lot of the other students learned, and really delved into functional nutrition and environmental medicine and nutrigenomics and the genomics, the omics, metabolomics, herbalomics, et cetera. So just really how food, your lifestyle, et cetera, impacts your health. And lo and behold, I found myself an expert in this different area of human performance. And I just realized like I need to start working with entrepreneurs, because these are the people that want this the most, and these are the people that are wanting to work with me. And so, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and internet marketers. My clients range from some of the top internet marketers out there, to some of the most popular podcast hosts like John Lee Dumas. I was in a consultation with him just yesterday. So, there's just a lot of really cool things happening, but really it's all about helping people maximize their physiology so that they can upgrade their brain, their productivity. They can get more done in less time. They feel great, less stress, and really be able to accomplish all the things that their core purpose is to accomplish on this earth.
Awesome. Okay, so now it's funny. I'm that classic entrepreneur. Okay, I started really young. Through my 20s, I completely neglected my health, burning the candle at both hands. You finish when you're a teenager. You hit your 20s, you feel like you're invincible, right? So you work those 60, 70 hours weeks. Built incredible companies, and but you're burning the candle at both ends. Now, it's funny. You said, you're ADHD, I'm ADD. It is the, common thing, I think, through entrepreneurs as well. So eventually, though, combining the ADD with, abusing my body, the Skittles and Oreo diet, all of that stuff. Eventually I had various health conditions and, prescriptions compounding on themselves because, you have one ailment and you take a trip to the doctor, they give you another prescription for that. And then that leads to more whatever and more prescriptions. So I guess my first question is, how is your approach different than our traditional Western medicine?
That's a great question. The Western medicine just treats the effect with drug, surgery, or some other type of tincture. So, and really this is very similar to the alternative model as well. So there's the traditional medical system that treats symptoms with medications and surgeries, and there's the alternative approach that treats symptoms with homeopathics and supplements. So I differ from both of those approaches. I call this new model it's really what healthcare should be, and it's called the health model. It's a new paradigm. There's the alternative paradigm, there's the medical paradigm, and both of them focus on treating the symptoms or treating the effect of the underlying issue that's actually going on. Now, if you actually want to properly address high performance, increasing brain function, overcoming, disease pathways, and really triggering those anti-aging, high energy, high performing pathways within your body, you have to take a multifactorial approach. And that's why really the research has been done on double-blind controlled studies on what one drug does versus what a drug doesn't do. But there's no studies that take into consideration exercise, nutrition, and healthy sleep. So they're not like looking at all of the different factors. And it's funny, the double-blind controlled studies, the joke is that both the participants and the researchers poke their eyes out with a stick because they're both blind to the fact that the results aren't actually getting, long-term sustainable transformations in people.
Sure.
So like the perfect example is if you take a plant and you've got a wilted plant, and it's wilted. The leaves on the plant are starting to turn yellow. It's not looking so good. The medical approach would be like, hey, let's treat the symptom. We can make that yellow turn green by just spraying the leaf green,
Yeah.
right? Or why don't we just shove some supplement or some supplements or some medications in the soil. But really, what does the plant need? It needs sunlight, it needs water, and it needs micronutrients. So if you did a double-blind control study on the plant to help it get healthier, and you did you double-blind controlled studied just water with the plant, and it's still wilted, then the conclusion is water isn't really good for the plant. You did it just with sunlight, and sunlight didn't actually help the plant get healthy. It didn't help the plant perk up. All of a sudden, the conclusion is sunlight isn't good for a plant, or there's no conclusive evidence that sunlight is good for a plant. And then you take just the one element of the micronutrients in the soil, and you increase the micronutrients in the soil, the minerals and the bacteria, and the plant's still wilted, then all of a sudden you come to the same conclusion as you did for the last two double-blind control studies. So the real magic, though, in transforming the plant is giving it water, sunlight, and micronutrients, right? It's the multifactorial approach to health that really transforms the individual. And that's why it's so exciting to live in the 21st century, because these lifestyle strategies are like superpowered medications. They're way more powerful than any medication could ever be, and we have access to them. The research behind them is quite substantial, and that's what really the future of healthcare looks like. It's addressing the underlying causes of why people are dealing with what they're dealing with, and then removing those interferences, and then helping teach them how to live a life of high performance in a multifactorial fashion to create long-term sustainable results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, so here's one of the challenges that I see, though, is, again, it's the future of healthcare, and I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said there. But if you look at just the standard food pyramid, what our governments are preaching, we're so far from that. And then the other side of it is pharmaceuticals obviously are not motivated, and I mean, this is my assumption, but they're not motivated to actually cure. They're motivated to treat, because that's where the long-term value is. So how do we go as a society from where we are today to this health model, which I believe to be the right approach? But how do you shift a whole population when from top down it's not preaching that message?
Oh, that's a great question, and that's really an interesting question, because the same questions being asked with GMOs, the same questions being asked with organic versus conventional foods, but really, if you look at the reason why the food pyramid is the way that it is because big food is paying, hundreds of millions of dollars in lobbying power and marketing to the people in Congress to actually keep it the way that it is.
Sure.
It's just, that's the reality. The pharmaceuticals will always be there because lower class America and some of like blue collared, or even some upper class, white collared people, their goal is to just relieve pain. They're not actually wanting to do all the work that's required to live an extraordinary life and access high performance. So, the pharmaceutical companies will always be there. But what's great about what's happening right now is there's this movement taking place of people becoming more and more educated, because of the internet, because of this Moore's law of 10x, exponential growth of technology and the way that we use it. People are becoming more and more educated, and it's not the media anymore that's dictating how we learn. It's us going on YouTube. It's us reading blogs. It's us listening to these podcasts. Like Derek, what you're doing right now is going to change and transform lives. But this is a new approach to media. And it's exciting because people are now starting to ask better questions, and they start making changes. So I believe the way that you do this and you transform the industry is through education, number one. And then, number two, it's through making it profitable for health companies to earn a profit and to start fighting against these bigger companies, through marketing and also through getting into to mainstream grocery stores and things of that nature. As far as the pharmaceuticals and moving towards more natural means, again, this all comes down to the way that the medical system is set up. The doctors are the ones that are essentially perpetrating the same and continuing to progress the same model that has existed for years. So if my goal is to transform healthcare, my vision, this is my ultimate vision, is to transform healthcare globally. That's why I'm over in Japan educating doctors. It's why I have a mastermind of doctors and here in America, and I've got a lot of doctors that are, that are going to be at all of my events across America next year, and I've been talking at different events this year. It's exciting because you're starting to see a movement take place. Doctors are starting to catch this bug, and they're excited to make changes in Asia and in across America. So this is how I think this movement will take place: is the doctors will start recognizing, well, you know what? I don't really want to treat the symptoms anymore. And what's cool is that it's more profitable for me as a doctor to actually work in this health model where I'm actually helping people get healthy and then stay healthy, versus just continuing to peddle, the drugs like a drug dealer would on a street for these big pharmaceutical companies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely 110% agree with everything that you said. And I think it's that transition as people begin to have access to the information, which the internet's given us, and start advocating for themselves. And,
Right.
I'm that classic story of, through my 20s, neglecting my health, going the Western medicine route, all of a sudden looking at all these prescriptions going, what am I doing? Right. And then eventually taking a step back and going, okay, it's time to make a change, and trying to transition away from that, picking up in my 30s again, starting to pick up cycling, doing endurance racing. Now, that being said, as an entrepreneur, I think our biggest asset is in our head, right? It's our brain.
Right.
And,
Right.
I look at how hard we push ourselves mentally every day. I just got back from, a month traveling through Australia, Asia, Singapore, speaking at conferences. I'm back here now. I'm training for an endurance event. I've got, 3 different businesses on the go. So,
Awesome.
we've got so much stuff on the go. We're always looking for a hack. How do we push more out of our brain and our mind? I mean, ADD aside, that's just sort of a common vein that I find through so many entrepreneurs. But what we're faced with, and I'm a marketer, so I get it. Is there's so many gimmicks out there. There's so many latest and greatest diets, latest and greatest fads. Right. And now there's this huge swing towards how to get more out of your brain. I'm watching people go down the road of nootropics and all the stuff that goes along with that, all these new supplements coming out. You've got the whole bulletproof exec, kind of pathway as well. Mm-hmm. Where do you start, right? So and that's, the big question I want to ask here today is, how do we get, more out of our minds, more productivity, more, I guess, just more brain power, and how do we keep that consistent, avoid that brain fog, avoid that exhaustion? Where do we start?
Well, it's $1 million question, but
Yeah.
I think I could actually answer it pretty efficiently and effectively. And David Asprey is one of my good friends, and
Yep.
he wrote the Bulletproof Diet, which is a really good book. If anyone hasn't read it yet, it's just it does give a lot of really valuable tips on nutrition, but also some other things around healthy living. But in general, you have to ask yourself the basic questions. Am I getting 8 hours of sleep a night? Like most entrepreneurs will laugh at that. And so the follow-up to that is, okay, if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, you have to be going to bed at the same time each night. If you don't get up at the same time, it's not that big of a deal, but you have to create a good circadian rhythm. A circadian rhythm is what they call a biological rhythm that you get into. Your body needs rhythm. Your body needs consistency. So if you can go to bed, if it's 12 o'clock at night, then just go to bed at 12 every night. If it's 11, go to bed at 11. The earlier you can go to bed, the more rejuvenating your body will feel in the morning. And typically every hour before 12 o'clock will act like an hour and a half or even 2 hours after 12 o'clock. So I know a lot of my entrepreneur groups that I'm a part of, these masterminds, I'll be on their Facebook group, and there's a few guys that just crush it in the industry that they're just creating like massive transformations where they will go to bed at 9 o'clock and they'll wake up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock and they'll get everything done in the day between 5 and 8 o'clock. They will take like a little break. They'll crush it again till noon, and then they'll take the rest of the day off, right? So it's like, but they got more done in the time that they woke up at 4 or 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock than most people do throughout the entire week. So, thinking about your sleep and getting good sleep at night is absolutely essential. Some sleep, quote unquote, hacks that everyone should be aware of is if you can't get good sleeps, you're not getting deep rejuvenating sleeps, you should use some sort of magnesium product before you go to bed. That kind of just helps relax the muscles, etc. The problem I was running into was that I would be on my electronics late at night, on my computer, on my phone. I still struggle with it, to be honest with you right now, but I've figured a way to kind of hack that I'll get into in a second. And the problem with that is it stimulates your brain. It keeps my brain going. I'm thinking about different projects that I need to do. And it really dysregulates the type of neurotransmitters that need to be stimulated before you go to bed. And what I was finding is that there was a neurotransmitter called glycine that was really high, and I'd be twitching throughout the night, and my wife wouldn't be able to sleep on the other side of the bed. So she's like, you need to figure this out. So I did a neurotransmitter profile. It's just a really powerful test, and I figured out what my deficiencies were on a neurotransmitter level. And I do a bunch of different tests for entrepreneurs, if anyone listening to this is interested, that are really powerful at helping you pinpoint exactly what's going on in your body that you can't really get done at traditional offices. And even if you could, they wouldn't really know what to do with the results.
Yeah.
But I ended up within just a few days of getting the results back, sleeping very soundly throughout the night, no problems. And it's a good habit for anybody to get into, is just increase GABA production before bed. How do you increase GABA production? GABA is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. It decreases all of those busy thoughts in your brain. It decreases the norepinephrine and the glycine and these other excitatory neurotransmitters. You do that through meditation. That increases GABA. Great thing to do before you go to bed, or just a 5-minute stretch session. If you stretch for 5 minutes before bed, you're releasing a ton of GABA, and it helps, get your body in a better state for nighttime. And having that nighttime ritual is really important. Keeping blackout curtains on the windows so that you're not getting any light pollution, any light, no light emitting from your phone or from your, for even those little LED lights from like an VCR or a TV that might be in your bedroom. I would put black tape over top of that. You just want to sleep in pitch dark. And the goal is to go to bed at the same time every night. If you're getting 5 hours of sleep or getting 8 hours of sleep, but you should be aiming for around 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So the hack I was about to talk to you about that really helps you get into that deep delta wave rejuvenating sleep is blocking blue light exposure before going to bed, because your pituitary that secretes melatonin, when it's exposed to blue light from LED screens like your phone or from your computer, the blue light communicates to your brain that it's daytime. So then your brain doesn't produce melatonin, and when your brain doesn't produce melatonin, you could perhaps still go to bed because you're tired at night, but you're not going to get into that deep delta wave sleep where you get that real awesome rejuvenation. So in order to inhibit that from happening, you download f.lux onto your computer. That takes away a lot of the blue light on your computer after the sun sets, which is obviously really important. And then I've bought blue light blocking glasses. If you have prescriptions, you can actually go to your go to your optometrist, and they can actually put blue light blocking spray on your glasses. Depending, or if you want to maybe get an entirely new glasses, that's fine. But I go to a website because I don't need prescriptions, called Gunnar. These are Gunnar glasses, spelled Gunnars. And that blocks the blue light. If you're wanting to watch a movie at night or something like that, you can watch it. It blocks 65% of the blue light, and it's been shown to increase melatonin secretion by over 40%. So you can get those deeper, more rejuvenating sleeps. So, I know that sleep in general sounds pretty simple, like, sleep. But I just talked about like a thousand different hacks around sleep that will really help you get into a deeper, more rejuvenating sleep. But then will impact your performance the next day, and your sugar cravings will go down dramatically if you're getting those deeper, more powerful sleeps. So very, very powerful hack for high performance. And I can get into several other really powerful ones as well.
That's awesome. And, first of all, F-Lux, I discovered that probably 6 months ago and started using that. And I noticed an immediate difference because, especially when you're doing business on the internet, you've always got devices on. And killing that blue light for me made a big difference. And I had no idea we could actually get glasses that did that as well. So now, so here's a question for you. So we're talking about GABA, right? So releasing more GABA to help us sleep better. The first thing that comes to my mind, and I know so many entrepreneurs will be asking this, is, can't I just take a pill? Yeah, can't I just supplement with GABA? I know Bulletproof Exec's got a GABA thing. There's different GABA supplements out there.
Yeah, you can. You totally can just supplement. Anytime that you, like, for instance, take testosterone as an example. If you're injecting testosterone into your body, your testicles shrink because your body thinks, okay, well, I don't need to produce testosterone myself because this person's injecting testosterone into its muscles, and that's where they're getting it. So that's the whole premise around taking a bunch of these synthetic chemicals. Like if you're taking in the long term, for instance, and there's some things like melatonin in the long term has not shown to decrease melatonin production, natural melatonin production. So there is exceptions to the rule. But again, if you take serotonin reuptake inhibitors such as Prozac or Effexor or Celebrex, what that does is it blocks the reuptake of the neurotransmitter serotonin in the synaptic cleft of between the neurons in the brain, and the serotonin's left continuing to stimulate on overtime the other nerve cell. Well, over time, the other nerve cells are saying like, whoa, this is way too much, and they start down-regulating receptor sites. So now you need more serotonin to create the same kind of happiness response that you're looking for. So yes, you can feel better on antidepressants. Yes, you could take different supplements and testosterone to look better and to build muscle. But in the long term, you always want to figure out a natural way to do it that will help you to sidestep the side effects that can take place in the long term of doing these things that really inhibit long-term health transformation. So that would be my response to you. But definitely in the short term, melatonin, GABA, all those supplements I think are really great. And I even use supplements in the short term to help people get their bodies back to where they need to be. And then after that, I kind of create a customized plan and program based off their own physiology that will help them really maximize their health moving forward.
Got it. So, one of the things that you just said a moment ago that sort of caught my attention was, once you start supplementing, I'll put it in layman's terms. Basically, you start taking a supplement to do something in your body that your body was doing, and your body eventually just stops doing it because you're supplementing with it. Or right. So what's happened, and I've seen this, I've been through this, and I see lots of people that I work with where, you've gone down this Western medicine road, they've got you on all sorts of prescriptions. How do people go from being on these prescriptions, whether it be, the SSRIs or whatever it may be, it could be a, proton pump for reflux, stuff like that. How do they go from where they are to getting off those when all of those, receptors, et cetera, have been almost shut down?
Right.
How do you get back from that?
No, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that because my mom was, I didn't know that my mom was taking Prozac and Effexor for years and years and years. I didn't know that my mom was even depressed. And, I was going through my doctorate program and she said, I've been on a really high dose of Effexor because the Prozac wasn't working anymore, and the doctor told me I should start taking this. She's like, but I'm still not feeling very well. I still feel depressed. I'm like, Mom, you never even told me that you were dealing with this. I didn't even know. And then I started doing research, and I was a young student. I was naive. I didn't know what I know now. And I was like, you need to get off that. I'm like, this is toxic. It's causing XYZ within the body. It creates all these other side effects. This is what you've been dealing with. One of the biggest is sleep challenges. You're like now an insomniac. This is not good. So she went off of it cold turkey, and it literally took her to her knees. Like she did not want to live. Like it was that bad. And so I immediately when she told me what happened, I was like, get back on it. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And I ended up, calling up some really top experts in the field, some doctors that had been trained at Harvard and some other institutes, and really talked to them about who'd written books like Prozac Backlash and the Antidepressant Solution on how to actually overcome and get off medications properly. So, Antidepressant Solution is a great book for anybody wanting to get off of antidepressants. But ultimately, I don't take people off medications now. What happens is naturally they just come off of the medications themselves, or they'll work with their personal medical doctor to go off of the medications. But some, medications, doctors will take people off right away after they make some changes. Some people will have to wean down off it. Like my mom, it took her literally 3/4 of a year to wean down off of Effexor, where she was counting the grains of the Effexor. And once she got to say 15 grains, she would go down to like 14. 14 was too much to go off of at one time. And this is in caps. This is grains within the caps. She would go back up to 15 for another week, and then she'd go back down to 14 until she got to 13. So there's this whole process, depending on how long you've been on the medication for, and really you should be working with a professional medical doctor to do that. There's a lot of really great books out there that I recommend that you read. By no means am I telling you to go off of any medication, but I just clinically what I've seen is the people that I work with will go off of medications once they start implementing the customized solutions and strategies that I teach in the programs that I put together for people to transform their health and upgrade their internal physiology. And it's like they don't have need for that for the medications anymore. So they'll either take themselves off of it just naturally, or the doctor will help them wean down off of it. But this is all in conjunction with making changes changes in your lifestyle and removing interferences in the body that drive disease processes and abnormal genetic expression.
Right. Awesome. Okay. And I think that's a, for anybody listening, I think it's a really important message is don't just stop. There's a process to transition from taking X and Y to removing those from your diet, from your health care as you move towards a more natural, I guess, approach. Now, all right, so I'm going to change direction on you a little bit here,
Sure.
and now where I want to go now is a little bit into diet, okay? And I want to address one specific thing that this is something I've been testing out, and this is kind of a full 180 from the old recommended high carb diets, low fat diets. Now we've shifted back to more of a high fat diet, and specifically for brain performance, right? So, I've seen a real increase, in people using the MCT oils, the bulletproof coffee, right? Stuff like that. So, let's walk down that road a little bit, and where do you stand in that whole diet realm of the high fat, the high brain performance?
Yeah, if you want to really increase your brain performance and lose weight, get to your ideal weight, there is like a particular formula that you want to follow. Now, I will just say as a caveat to what I'm about to tell you that everyone is different, and you have to listen to your body. You have to really, listen to what your body is telling you. And some people do better like legitimately on a vegan diet. Some people do legitimately better on more of a Mediterranean diet where they're still eating grains, but for me and what I've seen clinically and the amazing results I've seen on pre and post lab testing, from a nutritional perspective, I think more of a very healthy primal or paleo diet that is not high in sugar, that is focused on consuming healthy fats, healthy vegetables, healthy proteins, not overdoing the proteins, because a lot of people in the paleo world and a lot of Americans, they overconsume protein, but moderate protein, high fat, and then really like as many vegetables as you want, essentially, with fruit and berries. I think it's just an incredible diet for you to be on. That's the way that I eat right now, and I don't even eat a lot of fruit just because I just love being in more of a fat burning ketogenic state. So for anybody that's never heard the term ketosis, it means your body's using fat for energy. It's like your body has energy stores within it. I'm sure that some of you may be aware, especially if you're an athlete or you work out at all, of glycogen. Glycogen is the energy packet inside your muscles and your liver that gets broken down into ATP for energy. Well, there's 2,000 calories of energy, kilocalories of energy, inside of your body from glycogen stores. Well, even for me at 6% body fat, I've got over 40,000 kilocalories excess of energy, off of my adipose tissue, off of my fat tissue. So you also have a cleaner burning fuel with fat than you do with sugar. So I'm writing a book in Asia right now. I have a big following in Tokyo, along with my growing following here in America, and it's called Eat More Fat. And I talk about performance around fat and healthy fats, and how fat is really a superfood, but you have to be consuming healthy fats. So dietarily, what it looks like for me is I've integrated a intermittent fasting type of model into my diet. Again, this is not for everyone. If it's a woman trying to get pregnant, highly recommend not intermittent fasting. But if it's somebody that's wanting to lose weight and you want to access higher levels of performance, I think that intermittent fasting is a really, really great lifestyle strategy to implement. So I combine intermittent fasting with my diet to maximize my brain performance to higher and higher levels. So what that looks like is, I woke up this morning, I worked out. I had a low glycemic protein shake, with some really healthy vegetables and ginger root and turmeric root that I got from Whole Foods. Just broke that off, threw it in there, and some berries. So I don't overdo the berries. I probably do just half a cup or quarter cup of berries in with that post workout. So that's kind of my post workout shake, and then I wait till around 12 o'clock to eat. So even days that I don't work out, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, are the days I don't work out, I still have my first meal at 12 o'clock. So my first meal is 12 o'clock. My last meal is around 6 o'clock. So, intermittent fasting is essentially consuming your 3 meals of the day within an 8 hour time frame. So it might be 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then 5 o'clock, right? Would be an example. And so what that does is it increases human growth hormone, which can help your body, essentially access higher levels of performance. It helps you burn fat off of your body, and it gives your body rest between the times that you're eating. It helps to normalize insulin levels. If you have insulin dysregulation, which I can guarantee if you're listening to this podcast, around 90% of the listeners most likely have some sort of pre-diabetic issue going on. It's very common, probably not 90. I think the research shows around 70%. So it's definitely more common than most people think. And I see it all the time with the executives and entrepreneurs that I work with on lab tests. And, that's something that, I think as a foundation is really essential for nutrition. So for lunch, I'll have a medium-sized meal. For dinner, I'll have a larger meal. So my dinner is pretty much a bigger meal. And some people, I like working out in the morning. Some people like working out at night. So their big meal will be right after their workout, which is completely fine. Some people's goals is to gain muscle mass. You can still do that intermittent fasting. In fact, it's very beneficial to do that intermittent fasting, but you just have to consume more food, more calories, more protein throughout the day. Post workout, if you're focusing on gaining muscle, I would do 20 grams of protein right after the workout, 20 grams an hour after your first dose of protein, and then consuming a little bit higher calories throughout the day. But I like the way, if you're really wanting to feel good and you want to work efficiently and your brain wants to perform at higher levels, hacking that breakfast is so important. People that are in sugar burning state, you can't do that because your brain and your body is going to be craving sugar, and you're like, oh, my body, I just can't intermittent fast. I can't get past breakfast. I need something to eat. I like Dr. Jones is crazy telling us to do this. Well, yeah, it's because your body's been used to eating sugar all these years, from eating toasts in the morning or berries or yogurt or whatever it may be, with the amount of sugar that's in a lot of these breakfasts. So your body's gotten used to that. There's around a week to 2 week period that you transition into being used to, not eating as early as perhaps you used to. So most high performing entrepreneurs now that I train and coach, they're having 2 meals a day. They'll have a bulletproof coffee in the morning. Sometimes, people with adrenal fatigue, or they're dealing with energy issues, and they're tired. I don't recommend caffeinated coffee. Ideally, it would be decaffeinated coffee. And David Asprey has a great brand that is highly recommended by me. Or tea. You could. I love matcha green tea from Japan, so I get this organic matcha green tea. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but I blend that up with some butter and some coconut oil, and it's absolutely amazing. David Asprey's Brain Octane, I think, is great. If you have any heart disease issues, or if you're taking MCT oil and you're not losing weight, it might be because the MCT oil. You want to monitor your cholesterol levels if you're taking MCT oil chronically, if you do have heart disease. But other than that, I think your game to add some MCT oil. It's a really, really great oil to add to your beverage in the morning. Alternatively, in the morning, you could also have a shake. So that, like I said, if you don't want to do the coffee, just have a shake. I often put coffee in with or green tea in with 1 scoop of goat protein or grass-fed whey protein that you can get on my store, or some sort of vegan protein powder. And I'll blend that all up together, and I'll make this really delicious kind of beverage. So hopefully that gives you an overview of some of the best strategies to hack optimal brain performance throughout the day. And you'll just see your focus increases. You have to give it a week or so, though, because your body will reject any change for around a week. But once you get into that rhythm, it's going to be pretty powerful for you.
Wow. Okay. So just a side note, I've just got like 3 pages of notes from everything you just said there. So thank you for sharing so much in there. And, one of the messages that I want to highlight there, and you got my instant respect when you said it, because like I said, I've been down many of these roads and explored many different paths. And that is when you said one size does not fit all.
No, absolutely not.
And that's the problem I see in the health space, particularly when you start researching online, is there's the one size fits all diet. Everybody has the miracle cure. And that's where I think, I respect your approach, because you're right up front saying everybody's a little bit different and you need to find what's right for you.
Exactly.
And the other message, and this is where I see a lot of people fall down, is, they don't give it enough time for their body to adapt.
Yes.
And so they do it for a few days and go, oh, I feel terrible, this isn't right, and they quit.
Exactly.
As you said, it takes a couple weeks to, particularly if if you're doing an extreme change from really, I guess, unhealthy eating to something very healthy, you're not gonna feel great for the first few days. And I've been down that road. So fantastic. Okay, so we're running out of time here, and so I want to wrap things up. Big question is, where can people, our listeners, connect with you? How can they work with you? How can they learn more about you and tap into this incredible knowledge that you have?
Yeah, if you're interested in getting customized lab work done and you're interested in working with me one-on-one, if you go to superhumanentrepreneur.com and click the About page, there's inside of the paragraph, there's a little bit about a consultation. If you just click that link, you can access a page that will enable you to get a consultation with me for $197, and we'll go over essentially everything that you want. I'll answer all your questions, and then if you're interested in doing some labs, we'll talk about what are the best labs for you to really dive deep into what's going on physiologically within your body and to maximize performance. Superhumanentrepreneur.com is the site to check out my podcast, where I focus on kind of productivity hacks, biohacks, brain hacks, and really I interview a lot of the top experts in the health and wellness field, as well as in the field of entrepreneurship that that are doing really amazing things. In fact, I'm really excited to interview Derek in respect to how he does what he does in his business. But, I've got a lot of great articles coming out every week on that site. And, you should just check out superhumanentrepreneur.com to stay up to date with what's going on and in the health space and specifically for entrepreneurs. And that's about it.
And one more thing, you were talking about supplements. You have a company, you're developing supplements. And, that's a space I've done work in, and I know all supplements aren't created equal.
No, they're not. Yeah. Most supplements are USP synthetic. A lot of them are made in laboratories. They're not the same molecular structure of what is naturally found in nature. So what my recommendation is always is to try to consume supplements that are as close to what is naturally found in your fruits, vegetables, and botanicals as possible. So that's how I get supplements derived from those sources. And they're more expensive, but the bioavailability is so much better. If you take half a bottle of some of these other supplements, you urinate most of the supplements out. Whereas this new supplement will just continue to, these new technologies of extracting the actual proper molecular structure with the cofactors of the micronutrient helps for unbelievable levels of bioavailability within your body. And if you go to designerhealthcenters.com, and that's Designer Health Center spelled with an ERS. The supplements I take every day, one is called Spectra, SPR, or SPECTRA, Spectra. That's a multivitamin that's derived from the organic fruits, vegetables, and herbs with all the cofactors. Unbelievable bioavailability, and all you need is one little cap every day. You don't need to overdo it with that supplement. And it comes with a liquid as well, because fat soluble vitamins are different than water soluble vitamins, and so you want those separated so that you get optimal bioavailability. So that one would be a good one to jump on. Vista gets you access to a lot of the fats that we're missing in our diet that our mitochondria uses to produce energy. So if you're really interested in increasing energy and increasing brain function, Vista is really good on designerhealthcenters.com. And then the last two that I'll talk about are all about like really removing environmental toxins. We've been exposed to so many environmental toxins, especially if we're sitting at a desk all day in front of a computer. The internal environment in homes are 10 times more toxic than the external environments outside. So, we end up stockpiling a lot of this stuff in our body. And so we want to increase glutathione, but there's a lot of products on the market, and some of my friends carry some of these products, and they're just, the bioavailability, the research behind it is just not there. So it's the G-Cell is one that helps to remove environmental toxins. It's called G-Cell, G and then CELL, and then Bind, BIND, helps to actually pull the toxins out of the gut, out of the body, so you don't cause what they call a retox effect, which is where you remove the environmental toxins from the cells, but then they get reabsorbed in the gut and then back into your body if you don't have anything to collect them and bring them out. So it's kind of a two-tier product. So those are the ones. The Spectra, you just take one cap a day. And then the Vista, I would take those twice a day. And then as far as the G-Cell and the Bind, I take 2 of those each every day. And if you want to bump it up to 4 a day of each, if you're wanting to do a little bit of a detox dose, you can do that as well.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, I will include links to all of these in the show notes at entrepreneurignited.com. So if you're trying to write down URLs there, don't worry about it. Just head over to Entrepreneur Ignited. We'll have links in our show notes to everything there. So, all right. Well, Dr. Jones, I want to say a huge thank you for sharing today. I mean, you were very generous. And like I said, I've got pages of notes here. So once again, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. And again, this was a little bit out of the vein of our normal, internet marketing, entrepreneurial business stuff. But look, the fact of the matter is this: if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And the better you feel, the more you get done, the more productive you are, the more successful you're going to be. And I'm living proof of that. I've had a real journey in my health as an entrepreneur over the past 20 years, and today I can honestly say, at 38 years old, 2 years away from 40, I'm more productive, get more done in my life than I did in my mid-20s, when in theory I should have had a lot more energy. And it's because I've made a lot of the changes that you're hearing here today. So again, that's why I think this was such an important interview, and again, something near and dear to my heart. So thank you very much for listening today. And as per usual, you can get all of the links in the show notes at entrepreneurignited.com. We've got more incredible episodes coming up. If you like what you hear here, please leave us a review on iTunes or on SoundCloud, and we'll see you in the next episode.
You're listening to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast, where we aim to simplify online business so you can make more money. Now, here's your host, Derek Gehl.